Oh,
Hello, everybody. This is Anthony of Happy with Par, and I'm in the basement of my house, aka the Happy with Par headquarters, joined by Madison Walker. How are you, Madison?
I'm doing just fine. Just moved into my
Where?
new place.
Oh, right on. Where is your new place? You're in Florida?
Yep, I'm in Perdido Key, Florida, which is a little bit further away from Pensacola. It's about 40 minutes away. It's a barrier island, kind of in between Pensacola and Gulf Shores.
Right on.
And yeah, I got really lucky. An old friend that I used to work with on the oil spill response, she has had a property out here and couldn't find a snowbird, so I get to live on the beach.
Sweet.
So it's awesome, yeah.
So is that a good opportunity for you to dive into like the shark teeth and shell searching? Because I think I've seen some of that on Instagram before.
Oh yeah, Kale LaVisca and his wife Victoria are in South Carolina, and they're collecting shark teeth, and it's definitely got me inspired. But I've always been an avid beachcomber. I have like
Yeah.
jars of shells at my house that I collect, so I've been hitting the beach hard every day. There's not as many shells in Perdido as there are in Pensacola, but there's so much coral and a bunch of other stuff. And I actually started a new jar of colorful like beach plastics. Um,
Okay.
so like I'm picking up trash and also like I found like a little flag. I found like a little plastic pirate doubloon. You
Hi.
find all kinds of cool stuff.
That's cool. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can put together like some sort of shadow box or something in time.
exactly.
That's
Maybe
cool.
some art down the road.
Right on. Well, I don't know. That kind of segues right into my first question for you. I was gonna ask, now that the off season has hit, what's a non-disc golf related goal that you have for yourself? But kind of sounds like
Ooh, I have a lot. Um, the main one is I got this quilt right next to me. So I have this quilt that I've been working on for like 4 years, and during the pandemic, I hit it kind of hard, but I never got around to actually putting it together. So I have all the pieces. I did all the patchwork already, but I have to put the batting in and put the backing on, and then actually do the quilting.
right.
So that's my number one goal: finish that quilt.
Okay.
I got a little sewing station set up, and then I'm trying to get like yoked. I'm trying to get like beefy. So I'm gonna do some weightlifting. And I think those are my two main goals.
That's cool. That's cool
Mhm.
that you're not the first person that I've talked to recently that says that they want to get jacked.
Yeah, I feel like
Uh,
I want some muscles. Why not? And
right on.
I want to be able to like see a tree and like just climb it with no problem at all.
Yeah. I think it would, I always thought it would be so cool. And I'm like a rather slender guy, but I just don't have the upper body strength for it. You see people when they grab onto like the stop sign and hold themselves
Oh yeah.
horizontal.
Oh, trust me, I know what you're talking about.
If you can pull
It's
that
called
off,
it's called flagging, actually.
okay. Hashtag flagging.
Yeah.
Bring that back.
I want to be able to flag a palm tree. So
Yeah, that'd be sick. All right. All right. Cool. So I'm gonna try and keep in the frame of like not quite rapid fire, but
Mhm.
I don't want to stop. So cool. Another non-disc golf related question. I know
Yay.
that you're kind of like a music head. I picked that up from your internet I guess presence.
Mhm.
So right now, what's an artist, a song, or an album that's kind of in heavy rotation for you?
Oh, there's so much. I kind of got into a bad habit in the last few years that Spotify took off of listening to just songs. Whereas before, like in college and right after college, I mean, high school, basically my whole life, I would get done with school, especially on Fridays, and go back home. And I would always splurge on a big pair of nice headphones, put my big headphones on, and I would just spend hours downloading albums and exploring artists until it was time to go out on Friday night, go to a concert. So like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was my entire life pre disc golf, was only music. I've gotten to a bad habit of like not doing that, not doing the full album. But lately, Fruit Bats, I know they're older,
Yeah.
not it's not like a new hip fresh artist, but they just released an album B-sides that I'm obsessed with. And then I started listening to the rest of their discography, and it's wonderful. So
Yeah.
that's definitely currently in the loop. But other than that, I've been kind of doing just single song. I like to make playlists a lot. I used to
Yeah.
love to make mixtapes for people. So
Yeah.
it's hard to like say a lot because it's so much right now.
Yeah, you're
Um,
like totally speaking my language right now.
yeah. But I've been really digging Charlotte de los Santos. I think she's Brazilian, maybe.
I don't
She's
know
got
that
an
name.
awesome, like kind of dreamy feel. Yeah, it's really all over. There's a YouTube special called A Color Show, and they
Oh
feature,
yeah.
you know what I'm talking about?
Oh
I've
yeah.
been I've been listening to that a lot. I have YouTube. I have a TV. I haven't had a TV in like 15 years, so I've been putting that on and just letting it run. So that's nice.
Nice, nice. Yeah, the Color Show. What is that? Maybe German or something, I think, or maybe like
I actually don't know.
maybe it's in like Amsterdam or something, I think. But
For
yeah, I
everyone that's
found
watching, it's like a colored background and they just do the artist and it's real bold,
yep,
super poppy, and it's really focused on just the artist. Usually they have a cool like hanging mic and it'll be like
yep,
just the keyboard or just the guitar.
yeah. So I know this isn't about me, but since you brought up the Color Show, I want to give you a recommendation and also anybody that might check it
Mhm.
out. There's this kind of like French dance pop rock band that I really like called Papoose,
Mhm.
Papooz, and
Okay.
they did a couple songs on the Color Show, and it's like
Good.
it's
It's good.
really really
All
good.
right,
Yeah,
I'm writing it down. I have to
it's
write it
really good.
down.
I think it was I think they did a couple songs from like their second album, which is really really good. Their first album though is called Green Juice,
Mhm.
and so you were saying a minute ago about kind of you were into albums back in the
Yeah.
day, and now
Yes, and I'm trying to get back into that habit. I feel like it's a good habit to pay attention to something for a long time.
yeah. Well, I don't, I'm not going to ask your age or anything, but I feel like maybe that's sort of like an age thing too, because we had this like time where we were just like on the internet, like
Nonstop.
spending indispensable time before there were like streaming platforms. And also maybe if you're like just a little bit of a nerd, like I feel
Mhm.
like I kind of was about music and you're
Oh
kind
yeah.
of mentioning it's like if I had ever heard of an artist because I had SoulSeek or whatever it was, like peer-to-peer sharing, I would
Mhm.
just download their whole discography
Yep.
and just like dig through anything. And I love listening to albums front to back and like
Yes.
trying to get the whole vibe of like what the artist was giving me, right?
Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, you end up finding out that you like the song that's not the most popular one,
Yeah.
and then that song changes your life, and next thing you know, you're, like, taking a different course from just listening to the whole album, which I love.
Yeah. So this actually got me thinking about another thing. I'm straying away from my rapid fire now, but
Yeah.
um you spin some vinyl too sometimes, so that makes it easier to like get into a whole album and really get
Oh, yeah.
into like the
Experience.
atmosphere, yeah, the experience.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
right before, or actually when disc golf started to kind of take off a little bit and I finally had a little bit more income, I the first big purchase I made for myself was a record player, but I wanted an old like refurbished one. So I
yeah,
have a 1979 turntable and then a 82 or 83, I believe, receiver. And then the
nice.
speakers are both early 80s as well, but they all kind of match. The person that refurbished all of them made them so they go together. They're all
Yeah,
wood panel, and it's just in great shape and it sounds amazing and they're humongous. Sadly, they're not at this house yet. I just moved in last week, but I gotta bring them over here so I can spin while I'm at home. But I have a little collection and started with some of just my parents' stuff, and then in college I used to go to the dollar bins
yeah,
because in college vinyl like hadn't taken off. There wasn't a lot of people that were listening to records, except for I went to a liberal arts school, so my music friends were. But so
where'd you go to school?
I went to Southern Miss in
Okay,
Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and
okay,
it's a liberal arts school, big music program. But I would buy dollar bin records that I liked the artwork on the front and would just hang them on my walls. And then turns out so crazy that a lot of those albums, not all of them, some of them were crap, but a lot of them have turned out to be some of my favorite albums. There's a
yeah,
Cool in the Gang album. There's a um, ZZ Top album. There's a Stevie Wonder album that have become some of my favorite albums of all time. But I just stared at them on the wall for like 4 years in college, and then didn't listen to them until I got a record player.
yeah,
So
yeah,
pretty
that's
awesome.
cool. That's kind of how it started for me was like I didn't get my parents' collection per se, but just remembered a lot of stuff that they listened to and basically hit dollar bins. It used to always be before I started my Happy with Par Instagram, I was just like on my personal one, like hashtag Dusty Fingers in the dollar bins all the time. I thought that was
Dusty
cool.
fingers.
Yeah. So I know you love MF Doom. I have a buddy who is like the biggest MF Doom head I ever met. And one of the things that he got me really into was finding the original albums that Doom sampled.
Impossible. Yeah.
So I got a couple really cool ones, and I always like to like I'll have people over and I'll put that on first, and
Mhm.
then I'll throw on like America's Most Blunted and right
Yeah.
after the Fever Tree record, and they're like, "Whoa, didn't we?" I'm like,
Where'd
"Yeah,
this come from?
yeah." It makes you feel kind of cool when you can. It's
And
like
those
a
are
lot.
hard to find. I don't know if maybe it's because I most of my digging has been in the South, but man, it's hard to find anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm smack dab between Baltimore and Philly, so I'm
Okay.
definitely kind of on that East Coast corridor.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that there's just definitely like a heavy vinyl collecting because of a lot of the music that came
Mhm.
from just this area. Anyway, that was fun. I like going down that little rabbit hole. So my last question on this little three-part series would be, what was it gonna be? Oh yeah, anything that you want, food, activity, TV show, movie, whatever. What's something that you just cannot seem to get enough of these days?
Oh, good question. Um, I don't watch a lot of stuff because I haven't had a TV ever. And when obviously we're on tour, it's not like we have time to just sit at someone else's house and watch TV. So it's I don't know. I just never been much of a media consumer in that way. But the new place I moved into has a TV, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to like sit and watch something. And it rained for a few days. And so I turned on because I used to love Wednesday Addams. I turned on the new Wednesday series. I don't know if I'm easily entertained or if it's actually amazing, but I thought it was wonderful. So I like binged, finally
Okay.
binged something. I loved that. But in reality, yeah, not a lot of media being consumed very regularly. So I would say
I
mostly music. I'm always digging through other people's playlists. And then I'm trying right now to get into cooking. So especially
okay.
vegetables, because lately I've been really wanting vegetables. That's like
Okay.
the kick I've been on. I want to do some like soups. I have a big crock pot at this
That's
place. I
cool.
can, yeah.
That's cool. Right on. Yeah, I think I kind of could have sidetracked you there a little bit by even mentioning the like TV show because I mean, you definitely don't strike me as like a
Mm-mm.
kickback television watcher. You seem like you're
No.
all over the place, like kind of all the time.
Yeah.
But my I got a buddy who's like a sous chef or something, and he's been doing a lot of this very like minimalist cooking lately. And he,
Yeah.
as simple as it is, got me turned on to just like kind of adding, a little bit more vegetable matter
Yes.
and really it's always like just throwing some garlic and onion and some celery in the mix
And
and
you're
like
winning.
add some texture and some
Yep.
aroma and yeah.
And I really like the concept of and like I don't really like to cook very much. I'm trying to learn how to like it because I like to eat. And I'm kind of a food snob. Like I want to eat like good, healthier food.
Yeah.
But I realized that I had more fun cooking while I was on camping trips or
Okay.
either or helping with my friends cooking on camping trips. So I started getting into like camp meals. And then it turns out I just like simple cooking. I like
Yeah.
one pot meals like you're talking about. I like being able to throw it all in there, saute it, and then, add stuff to it. So that's what I'm trying to do too. Like one
Yeah.
pot meals that are simple but nourishing, but also healthy. Yeah.
All
Also
right.
a
So
perfect cookie recipe. That'd be
yeah.
chocolate chip cookie.
So I think this I was gonna ask you earlier, and then you just start talking about cooking now and start talking about food. And it definitely spurs me gives me this opportunity to kind of dig into like a little bit of a mental thing. And the
Mhm.
reason why I say that is because um this thing that I've had in my mind a lot lately, and it was kind of kicked off by hearing Ricky Wysocki in an interview talk about like his blackout mode and like talking about getting into the zone.
Yep.
So when I had just recently done an interview, I was saying that, this whole happy with par thing for me is very metaphorical. I mean, it's definitely about disc golf, but there's so many times that I'm kind of applying it to life because for me, par is metaphorical. Like
Mhm.
it's sort of about contentedness and definitely, wanting to
Well, and
get
there's a difference between course par and your par. So it's like about setting your standards.
absolutely, right? I was just talking to Maria and she was saying, she doesn't pay attention to anybody else. She's not competing with anybody else. Six shirt, you're styling. She's competing with herself. And I heard someone else recently say, I could play my best round and still not win because
Mhm.
somebody else just plays better at that course or whatever. So from that idea of like kind of being in the zone on the disc golf course, what I'm now translating it to is kind of in life. And I think just like maybe you have a putting routine or you have a routine on the tee box. In my mind, for me, if I have like a routine in life, and sometimes it is, I'm eating right. I got a diet kind of going on. And
Yep.
then off of that, it's like if I'm eating right, well, I want to put in some work to my bot for my body. Like I want to get a little bit more fitness oriented, right?
Yeah.
So I was just going to ask if you could maybe dive in a little bit to how you think that correlates, like your life routine into your disc golf routine, and just a little bit. This is a very open-ended and broad question, but I'm doing my best to reel it in. Just yeah, try to get a little bit of like your mindset when you're on the road getting ready for tournaments, but even when you're, when you're not really competing as much and you're just trying to like maintain an even keel and feel good about Madison.
Yeah, so it's really hard to get into a routine on the road. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Because you're changing locations so much, and just changing locations that often means that everything is different every week. So like you might have access to a fridge one week, or you might have access to a stove one week, or you might have access to a shower one week, and then the next you don't. So it's so like little things like for instance, if you are staying somewhere with no shower and you have to figure out where to go shower, maybe it's 30 minutes away, all of a sudden you don't have time to cook the way that you want to cook. So it like you have to be always a little bit on your toes and always ready to kind of go with the flow. And so being on tour for what is it? 10
You said
months a
10.
year, 9 or 10 months a year, you're constantly going with the flow. And so you get into this mode of never setting a routine, which will, at least as I've gotten older, kind of drive you crazy, because you realize that you're not being as, maybe not productive, because I don't want to just drive home that I need to be productive or anything, but you don't get as much accomplished as you could if you were able to like get in your routine like you would, like your putting routine. It's just as important to have that in in your off time when you're not competing. But the first couple years I toured with Paige, and she was in this routine of, we go hard during the season, and then in the off season it's veg time. It's time to like get prone and watch whatever on TV and do nothing. Like, I mean, she didn't practice, and I got into that habit really quickly because I toured with her. We were best friends, and I would go hang with her in the off season, and we would just do nothing. Like we'd eat donuts and like maybe do some adventure fun stuff, but we would not touch a disc. We would not do anything productive at all. And it was great, but it got me into some bad habits. And now as I like get a little bit more responsibility and, want to get back in touch with some hobbies and that kind of stuff, you realize you kind of do need to pick up that routine if you want to get anything done. So trying to do that right now, get back into, waking up at a normal time, having my little morning routine that gets your brain functioning. Right now I'm going out to the beach and beach combing, drinking tea, eating a good breakfast, and then hopefully starting my day early. I love mornings. I used to not be a morning person, but now I'm like, I love getting up with the birds. But yeah, so trying to get that is definitely important. Not maybe as fun as you would think, but you feel good. You feel a lot better about the going to sleep at night when you kind of have that set up.
Yeah, right on.
Different.
You said you didn't want to like hammer home being productive because I think maybe it could be conceived when you say productive that like you're accomplishing things, you're getting things done. But sometimes like being productive is just like making sure that you're taking care of that day. Like
that you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And sometimes I have a little bit of a hard time these days as I feel like mental health is really been, I mean, it almost comes off like a fad to me a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a little.
It feels like a fad just because people are comfortable with talking about it, right? All of a sudden.
Yeah,
but
right.
I think hopefully it's just turning into a habit, maybe.
I hope so. But I what I was gonna get to is not a lot of times, sometimes I catch myself seeing things that just say, something about like it's okay to, I can't think of a very specific example, but like basically it's like setting the bar really low. Like it's okay to do that. And I do feel like it's cool to, take the time when you really need to veg out, but like at the same time, these things that we're talking about that kind of just seems like daily routine, but like it's tough to get it all in there to take care of
Yeah.
yourself sometimes, as much as you have going on, being on tour. I mean, I'm at home with a full-time job and a kid, and there's a lot of other people like me, and there's plenty of people that are, kind of doing what you're doing, and we're all living that same deal, but trying to like find our own balance. So
Yeah, definitely. I
sometimes
think I
productivity
think
is
it
just finding your balance.
totally, totally. And that balance is a line in the sand and it could change every single day. So that's the weird thing. And I think too, like more and more people are talking about mental health because like being in a pretty capitalistic society, like everyone's pushed to, do the 8-hour workday, make and always be pushing to maybe make more, and all the cost of living is going up. So everyone needs to acquire more income. So I think it's starting to take the toll on everybody. We're
Yeah.
not, as humans, we are not just, we can't just recharge the battery by plugging in. Like you have
Yeah.
to do something to help yourself. And so I think people are starting to realize, like, how do I plug in? How do I recharge my battery? I can't just sleeping and trying to go to sleep at night and get 8 hours is not even enough anymore.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's easy to kind of leave yourself behind by going too hard. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm hoping this like fad of mental health and talking about it is a lot of people maybe reassessing the way that we live right now, especially in the United States. It's pretty rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
I'm saying that as a touring disc golfer. I'm not even sitting at a 9 to 5 and working 3 jobs like a lot of people are. So
Yeah.
yeah, I hope this is like a kind of a. I was hoping the pandemic too, like everyone working from home, it would be like a kind of a call to reassessing the way that we do life as humans. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're right in the fact that it's sort of like there's like a saying about like a rubber band effect, or like the elasticity effect or something like that. And I think, right, we've been pulling this way for a really long time. And COVID helped kind of put some of that in perspective. Some people
yeah,
got a lot more free time. And
yep,
even though it was weird and it was scary, like some of that free time, I know for me, it definitely kind of opened my eyes up too, right as I had a kid, that like I I used to burn the candle at both ends, and a lot of time it's for fun too, but then it's like there's that balance.
yep,
Now that I've got somebody to take care of, and but my child, right, it could be, symbolic for whatever anybody else has going on. It's
yeah,
just like their responsibilities.
definitely.
So, yeah, and then if I get to tie it back to my brand, I'm gonna say, once again, happy with par, thinking about kind of contentedness, and it's not about lowering your standards and saying that I don't want birdies, I just want par, but
Yeah.
sometimes about like reevaluating your expectations.
It's funny because doing that on the disc golf course is I don't want to say it's like a rudimentary, it's like it's something that you should learn early on, like kind of setting your own par on the course. You go
Yeah,
out to a hole that maybe some people would call an easy birdie because they have a 400-foot sidearm, but you're like, I don't have that, so I have to play this one for par because I
yep,
can't get a backhand to go that far and do that late of a flip. So this one's going to be a 3 for me. And like that approach to disc golf is something that I did not learn until probably 6 or 7 years into the game. I was just pushing hard. And so I was having to scramble, and thankfully it's developed my scrambling game. Awesome. But now I'm taking this new approach to disc golf that minimizes mistakes, where you are happy with par on some holes.
yep,
And it's funny because it's kind of like a metaphor in life. And I just had to like, it's like, it took me a long time in life to learn that, to do just that. And kind of, I don't know, maybe adjust your expectations. So
yeah, yeah,
it's funny and cool how golf and life are,
yeah.
parallels.
Well, I don't know. It's definitely been a pretty awesome thing for me. I'm sorry that it took me a couple years to learn to reevaluate my expectations on the course, but all in all, it's been great.
It
And
took me 6 years of tour. It's okay. Like imagine how many tournament rounds it took me to beat that into my head.
yeah, yeah, right on. Well, cool, man. Thanks so much for talking with me. That was awesome. And hopefully some other people that are out there that maybe know a little bit about disc golf, and maybe are also on that little side of feeling like a head case and feeling like, they relate with the mental health stuff. Maybe they can take disc golf as an opportunity to help balance them. Go
Yeah.
get out. You can sleep 8 hours, but go get some um green light therapy on you.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is like kind of a take home point. I know you're wrapping up a little bit, but like to I can be a nightmare on the course. It just depends on the day. So I think it's really important not to lump yourself into a category. Like try not to say like I have a bad attitude on the course or I have a great attitude on the course because it just depends on the day. So like just don't lump yourself, don't categorize yourself. Just realize that you're kind of moving and coming and going and whatever happens that day is going to happen and don't judge yourself for it. And
Yeah.
then again, find the ways that plug in. I like to do breath work. I like to do float tanks. I like to do Epsom salt baths. Those little things are what I feel like recharge me mentally. Reading, like maybe slowing down some screen time. So just yeah, pay attention to yourself and find what works for you, and don't lump yourself into one category. It's the worst thing you can do, I think, mentally.
Right on. I think that's great advice and I appreciate you for it.
Mhm. Well, thanks
Cool.
for having me. This was awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool too, Madison. Thanks for spending some time with me. I sincerely appreciate it. And I'm going to stop recording now.